Hey, what's up studs? Ryan here, or MandRproductions, with my review of the 1999 LEGO Star Wars Naboo fighter. Its set number is 7141. It includes 174 pieces. It has 4 minifigs. That includes an R2-D2 figure. And in the US, when released in 1999, costs just $20. Adjusted for inflation, that's about $25 in 2020 money. So the box art has the classic 1999 logo on the top right, LEGO system, and then it shows the Naboo starfighter, assumedly on some CIS ship that we see in episode 1. You can see the side box art there. The back of the box is going to show some alternative builds for the Naboo starfighter there, a mech and a little flying dragster type vehicle, it looks like. And then you also have the Naboo starfighters kind of strewn about on a factory floor or a hangar floor, which is pretty neat to see as well, with all the figures just kind of working to either build it or take it apart. Not really sure. It's obviously not easy to tell in a picture like that, which they are doing. Here's the other side of the box, the bottom in case you want to read all that stuff. Same with the top, and that is the Naboo Starfighter's box. Anyway, guys, let's go ahead and take a look at the minifigs. This Anakin Skywalker is supposed to have black goggles, but I somehow lost them, so just know that he's supposed to have black goggles. Anyway, he's got the brown helmet on there. He's got nice rosy cheeks for the younger Anakin look with those little freckles. Got a nice looking smirk there as well. Pretty decent torso print, no leg print or anything. The back print is non-existent as well. And even though this is young Anakin, he still has the regular LEGO legs because the shorter legs were not introduced for quite a few more years after this guy. So you can see that it's a little bit taller than you would expect, but this is the only full-size regular LEGO minifigure in this set. You get 2 battle droids in this set as well, which are actually really nice. Of course, for the time in 1999, they were a brand new, fresh, and spiffy design, and not much has changed in 20 years now that I'm looking at this set in 2020. You can see that the blaster he's got has this very large, translucent orange cone on it, which is kind of an interesting choice. It makes it a little bit bulkier than I think a lot of people would like for the weapon, and when not attached to studs, will definitely have some balancing issues with the battle droid if you have it put outward for him to be firing at his enemies. So kind of an interesting thing there that LEGO chose to put such a large blaster on him, but still looks cool enough, I guess. One of the few sets, if the only set that ever included that for the battle droid blaster, but that's your battle droid. You probably know how they work. And finally, we have the classic 1999 R2-D2. One of the biggest deficiencies with these early R2-D2 minifigures is that the printing didn't come very far down on his headpiece, so it was actually very cut off there, and you can see a lot of white empty space below it, which is kind of interesting. Just something they weren't able to do back in the day for whatever reason. The technology wasn't there. The print looks nice enough for the time. The torso print is actually, while they've upgraded it over the years, probably the most similar to what we see today in the R2-D2 minifigures. So nice minifigure for the time, but has some very obvious deficiencies that got fixed over the years. So obviously, if you're looking for an R2-D2 minifigure, I don't know why you'd be looking here. Outside of the Naboo starfighter, there's actually a small little rover-like vehicle included in this set. It's never made a ton of sense to me, like when I've looked at pictures of this thing, but it's a nice little accessory to the Naboo fighter for what you can imagine to be inside the hangar bay, I suppose. I mean, you can't do much with it. It just opens and closes like that, and you have like these nice printed parts inside, which are actually coincidentally also on a couple of other sets, namely the 7111 droid fighter, and I think they use these on the Pod Racer set, like the Sebulba's Pod Racer maybe, or Gorgano's Pod Racer, not sure. I know I saw this in like a 3rd set of the 1999 wave, so that piece definitely got its use with that print on there. But you could take a minifigure, I guess, and like stand them on top of it, but like it's not that useful. It just rolls around nicely. It's got the rubber wheels and everything. It's a very 1999 looking build, but let's take a look at the actual thing you came here for. Here's the Naboo fighter in all of its glory. It's a very rudimentary model, although I think it's one of the cleaner looking models from 1999. I just think they got a lot of the curves a lot better than they could do on other sets in this particular model. I mean, it's definitely not as smooth as future iterations of this set, but it's smooth enough for 1999, I think, and that's where it really counts, I suppose, for this set. The design basically is just yellow and light gray. You have a little bit of trans green mixed in on the front there. Not a fan of that. And you also have a little bit of blue underneath with one of the missiles underneath. And the problem with this missile is, like, it just falls off. Like, all the time when I'm just moving the set around, and if you do, like, anything with it, the missile just falls off. And I almost lost it multiple times. So that's my problem with that. I'm sure if you guys have had experiences with this, maybe as a child, you would have probably lost that. I can't imagine anybody keeping track of that thing while playing with this or using it more than for just display. This set has 3 antennas, and unlike future models of this vehicle as well, or at least some of them, it actually has different antennas in different spots, and they don't really fall off, which is nice. So they have some give to them, and they don't snap off super easily. The one in the back probably snaps off the easiest out of all of them, but still, these are pretty well on there, not going anywhere without any type of divine intervention to some degree. So that is nice to see. You're also getting some printed bits on here with some writing or inscriptions in some type of language, and then a sea monster there, I think, on the back end of the Naboo fighter's cockpit. The cockpit itself is actually one of the dumber things I've seen from Lego from 1999. You don't actually have like the ability to open it without pulling the piece off. It doesn't like just go up like that, right? Most of them are on the hinge piece. You just open it. This one is not. You actually have to take it off, which is rather annoying. You have a nice little cockpit panel in there from 1999. And of course, a seat with just enough space to fit your large Anakin Skywalker in there. He's just going to plop right down. They use the technique so that you don't have to worry about the legs getting stuck in the bottom. You only have the studs in the back. You notice the grill piece in the front, so that solves that problem. It'll make it easier to get Anakin out if you ever do want to take him out. But he fits in there rather nicely. Very happy with that. You have a little section in the back here for R2-D2, which is a nice space. You just kind of stick his stud on the bottom of his torso in between that 2x2 plate or brick there. It's a rather tight fit, but once you stick him in, he's not going anywhere. You can see if you flip the ship over, no one's going anywhere, which is nice. Everything is attached with studs, except for the missile on the bottom, which just falls off. The missile thing on the bottom also kind of doubles as landing gear, essentially. This is what you're going to drop the Naboo fighter on. However, if you do want to take it off, the wings do drop down to the same level as the body of the ship, so it doesn't really matter if you have this here or not. It's kind of just up to personal preference, I guess. Another thing I'll say is that I kind of like the bottom of this. It kind of looks like the hull of a boat, which is kind of an interesting look for the bottom of a Naboo starfighter, but kind of looks nice, kind of looks weird, just depends on what you're feeling, I suppose. The engines on the sides are connected quite nicely to the wings and then into the body of the ship there. You can see they use large cone pieces on the front and the back, and they are connected with Technic there. They aren't really connected with the bricks here. They're just nicely sloped in onto tile pieces, which I wish they had used 2x2 like a plate there, and then you could actually have a tight connection, just perfect connection there. I don't know why they didn't do that, actually. It's kind of an interesting thing that they just kind of passed on, I guess. It's something you could definitely mod this to be like, but it's just something they passed on. Nice shot of the contouring on the back end of the fighter here, which again, for the time, was really good in my opinion, but by today's standards, not so great. But that's really all the Naboo fighter can do. Its main feature is that missile on the bottom, which you're probably going to lose within, I don't know, a week of owning it anyway. If you use this for like a playset for kids, like, they just will lose it, I'm sure. I'm gonna rate this set a 7 out of 10. This is a set that I used to hate, and now I don't hate as much, I guess. Like, 7 out of 10 is a passing grade, in my opinion. So, I think the set is good for the time. Definitely still kind of holds up to today's standards, even though it doesn't have any of the real modern slope pieces. It doesn't look too blocky and choppy like some other sets from the era, so LEGO did a great job with this one in my opinion. The minifigures don't age perfectly. The R2-D2 and Anakin obviously have seen some work since their original inception here, but the battle droids pretty much age perfectly because they're almost exactly the same nowadays as they were back in 1999. As a quick aside here, this is the Naboo starfighter from 1999. They very quickly, in 2002, created a UCS version of it that had chrome parts, which I do have on the shelf, but basically this is all of them in here, so I figured I'd just show the book. And it looks so much better in just 3 years because they had so many new parts that they were using with much, much better curvature. Come 2007, they released another Playscale set for $30, and again, they used a lot of those curved parts that they had come up with and some newer ones, and it just looks so, so much better. 2011 rolls around, more of the same story, even better model, and come 2015, they released their best model to date. So that's all the Naboo starfighters in the book with all the information that they give you about them. Pretty neat stuff. Quick side note, since I've been showing the instructions in these videos, this instruction manual does not include a little comic strip or any alternative instructions for alternative models, unfortunately. So just so you know that. Remember to leave a like if you guys enjoyed and subscribe to the channel if you're new here. You can check out more 1999 LEGO Star Wars set reviews with the link down in the description or on the end screen now.